please.
So welcome, Jeff, and welcome to the 8765 parallel units. It's very nice to have two of my previous schools here, representing London International Academy and Nancy Campbell Academy. It would be a nice opportunity now to just introduce some of our members of the Everybot program. We have about 10 teams that have signed up for this year, and 4 teams are on the call at the moment. And well, to begin with, my name is William Neal. I started FIRST Robotics back in 2015 at London International Academy, and now Jeff is occupying my classroom. It's very nice to see that the team is continuing. Maybe we can go for a round of introductions and we'll pass it over to Jeff.
My name is Cheryl Lewis. I am the mentor for 7712. We have a first year of registration was 2018.
Excellent. Very nice to see you again, Cheryl. And now we'll pass it to Jeff.
Thank you so much, Rudy. So happy to join this meeting. Yeah, so I'm the current mentor at the London International Academy. Thank you so much for your excellent job, William. So hope tonight we can learn. I think we can learn a lot from you guys. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Big shoes to fill.
Oh, pardon?
He has big shoes to fill. Did you leave big shoes to fill?
Well, when you have a whole team working, you have many shoes to fill. That's the thing. We can maybe pass it on to Ram.
Good afternoon. My name is Ram. So with team 8764. Last year was a rookie year, but since I lost every single of my student for graduation except one, I think I'm a rookie, but officially they're saying I'm not a rookie, but I don't have everybody. I lost every student except one, so I think I'm a rookie, but that's it.
And then we move on to Quentin. Very nice to see that you're on the call, Quentin, from 8765, former grade 12 student on the team, and now a mentor, I would guess.
Yes, indeed. I am Quentin, as William said, for team 8765, and last year was our first rookie year as well, and we're hoping to enjoy our upcoming year as I guess more experienced team.
Amazing. And to Mr. Keenan.
So my name is Paul Keenan. I'm a first senior mentor. One of the jobs that I do for First Canada is to work with rookie teams, but I try to stay in touch with all the teams and try to find support where they need it. And I do other things like sell swag at FRC events, which most people wouldn't know because we've been out of that for a couple of years. So, but we're back on Saturday and Sunday with the FLO challenge, selling hats and toques and stuff.
Excellent. Well, so great to have everyone on the call again. The Everybot represents quite an opportunity, especially in a situation where a team has ongoing human resources issues, where it's a rookie team or maybe a repeat rookie team, as I often had most or all of my students graduate from one year to another. I'm sure Jeff is encountering that occasionally as well. So I'm just going to share my screen and just go over the agenda for this evening. And the objective is just to get us organized as a group to make the best use of our time between now and the 3rd of March, when the first of our teams will be launching off into the Energize season. With that in mind, here is our introductory sort of meeting slideshow. And the Everybot, as you may know, is designed and built every year by NASA engineers, many of whom have close relationships with our community here in Canada, as you may have seen on our First Canada Live earlier this week. The Everybot is very accessible in that it comes with some instructions, a affordable kit of parts and bill of materials, and is a great way to get a team off and running. And it has every possibility of modification during the season so that the Everybot you have in the final week may be quite different from the Everybot you start with in the first week. The agenda for this evening, it might be nice, since we've already done our introductions, just to get a very brief synopsis of what are some of the challenges faced by each of our teams present here. And then to also hear from each of the teams what would be the objective of the Everybot program. And that will help us with the final 2 points. One, the logistics and planning of our contemplated quick build at Studica, which is in Mississauga. And 2, a schedule of the Ontario Everybot meetings and meeting topics based on our discussion here. So we'll have a set of Zoom calls and or meetings of various sorts to support the Everybot community here in Ontario. That's our agenda. And with that in mind, I'm just going to stop sharing and we can just go around once more to each of the team now that we've had introductions and go through the next 2 points. Maybe each of you might share the challenges you're facing and therefore what you're hoping to get out of the Everybot program. And in no particular order, I'll start with Ram, as you're the first team on my list here.
Oh, perfect. I was wanting to go first. So please bear with me because I might struggle to articulate what I have in my mind or what the picture I have. So I'll do my best. So in my case, the challenge I see we have, and I'd like to just a quick is I like this idea of a cooperative building, but that's why I want to make sure I explain this vision. And the thing what really we need is that, think about it, most rookie teams or every team would have a chassis. Even a rookie team will have the chassis. So we're kind of good we're good at bumpers, we're good at the chassis. The only thing we're missing really is, well, first I should also add, and so I also like my students to do stuff, right? So like my students do hands-on. So what are we really missing is the metal parts, like the cutting and take, for example, the Everybot or when the Everybot come out, is those parts that need to be cut, you know, all those pieces that need to be cut. This part needs to be cut, and there's a curved piece there and a curved piece there, and there's a, you know, I'm not saying CNC, but basically you need, this part needs cut, and maybe there's a bit of CNC, there's a hook or a curve or a piece of aluminum there, so forth. And I say that's my challenge and that's my dream or wish, is that maybe the Everybot groups somewhere we could all like manufacture, fabricate 6 of these hooks, 6 of these things, whatever, and sell it to the teams. Because then I can just get it and give it to my mind. It solved the purpose of then let's say that there are 8 Everybot teams. So we go and have 8 of these rods cut, 8 of these hook cut, 8 of these thing, and then I would love to buy it, and then I'll give it to my students, and then they still get to do this stuff, because we don't have the resources to cut all those curve and make all those hooks and, you know, fabricated stuff and whatever, and then the students get to do it. Now the other thing about it, I remember that we floated the idea last time of every team trying to do something, but personally I know that fell apart because some students saying one team failed enough will say, we don't guarantee the quality, please take it as you get it, and on the other side of the students, my students will say, oh no, I don't want to go with that, and they will be saying we can always do this better. So therefore, imagine, for example, there's a Sable Metals out there, and collectively, we as Everybot, all of us collectively go to somebody like William or somebody go to Sable Metals and says, I need 8 of these hooks. I mean, I need 8 pieces of these curved aluminum or whatever, and then sell it to us. So that's all I needed. I need, because we are good in chassis. Even the rookie team will not be good in chassis. We'll be good in bumpers. We have batteries. We have everything, except when this competition come out, what is the arm gonna look like, and where's this hook, and where's this climb lift, where is that stairs, what kind of stairs is, what is the size, and so forth. And even William, it was such a godsend when you went to Fastenal and you bought a pack of fasteners for everybody. So for example, if it turns out to be okay, these are fasteners, then we as the Everybot group, somebody goes to Fastenal and buy all this stuff and say, can you come and pick up So it's almost like then it's a store, a shop. We go and pick up our packets. It's almost like we do our own little kit of parts. We'll call it small kit of parts for the Everybot. But anyways, that's my challenge. That's my vision, is that I am only challenged in one thing. We don't have any place to fabricate here. And like I said, this idea of us all, each one of us building something it just gets us to the same spot. We can do it. How about, and so it's like us as a group acting as a supplier, like the Force Canada or some of the other mentors, or even one of us, if it turns out to be, we can divide it up. If there was something I could do, for example, buy, there's nothing, a fabrication I can do, but
maybe some of the other parts to purchase, for
oh
example.
yeah, like for example, I might have tools. I do have access to a riveter, for example, and then it would be somebody, if Paul or somebody would say, okay, sorry, Paul is gonna say, okay, we're gonna rivet all these things, and then and I say, hey, I have riveters, I have rivets, and I have a riveter. Do I have a place to cut it? No, and then I have access to drill press, but I don't even see or know where it is. But still, I like this idea of there's a Sable Metals my students know about. I told them try to contact them. We haven't even touched base in them. I know they sponsored somebody last year. We were we had them as a sponsor, but we never got anything from them.
So thank you, Ram. I think we will keep the conversation going along to the other teams. And I think this group has every possibility of making such coordination in terms of planning who may support the purchase of parts and the fabrication of parts. We'll continue along with Cheryl, keeping in mind that Tony has joined us. Welcome, Tony, and we'll hear from Tony in due course. Cheryl, maybe some of your thoughts about what you would like to get out of the Everybot program. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. We have mentors, but not very many with robotics experience. So I think, we probably need, if we can, I'm not quite sure how you plan the session going forward, if it's one person per team or who can come to the quick build at Studica. So we can get some sort of some more support. Tony, I don't know if you'd agree, electrical and probably some mechanical as well.
Great. So that's one of the things we would like to do to assess the demand for our in-person session in Studica and then plan accordingly.
Okay.
Because I think our practical limit would be about 8 to 10 mentors and or students building simultaneously at Studica, given the space that is there.
Okay.
And then as to would we be building a central Everybot and then bring that expertise back? Or would the students bring in their partially finished Everybot and troubleshoot it? I'm not sure. I'm trying to assess what each of the teams needs.
I remember one year I went to, there was a school in Mississauga, and they were able to help. There were several teams went in there, and they were able to help with, the challenges we were having. They were able to cut some parts for us at the time, or drill or rivet or whatever. So, they had a bigger space. I don't remember the name of the school.
Rick Hansen.
It's probably
Yes.
Rick Hansen, yeah. And they have offered to help with the parts this year. So that's one resource that we have. We also have the availability of machines at Studica that can do parts right as we're in the session. So it depends on how we organize it and what our objective is. So I'm hearing from you that perhaps by the time we do our quick build, it may be that you have a partially finished Everybot and may need some either troubleshooting or additional fabrication or some support just to get it towards the stage of completion. How is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in response to Ram's request, Ram, a couple of years ago, Paul had taken the bill of materials and he also had sourced some of the parts, like Home Depot or wherever. So it's easier for us to find the parts rather than driving all over the place, which I did at some points, going from one location to the other to find them.
We published last year, we sourced all of the parts at Home Depot and or a few other similar suppliers.
Yeah.
And we made that list available. The cost in Canada is rather breathtaking compared to the cost in the United States. If anyone has a means of getting to some point in the United States, it may be cost effective to bring a few parts across.
Yeah, the customs will kill you.
Yes, that is a possibility. So we'll see what happens with that.
Smuggle it in your trunk, yeah, but customs will kill you.
I think our next two teams on the list are both in the general area of London. And it's interesting to note for Jeff's FYI, as Jeff was not with the team last year. Last year, during February, 6162 and 8765 had a build afternoon together, and 8765 brought its robot down to London International Academy and had a session together with the two teams, as it's less than an hour drive. So there's a possibility just to throw into the mix before we hear from each of our next two teams.
Nice.
That would be great.
And with that in mind, Jeff, have you any thoughts about what you would like to achieve through the Everybot program this year?
Okay, so yeah, William, I think we have several of the challenges. The first one, we almost every year we have new students. So basically, just as you said, we are returning rookie team, and I'm also the first year for the FRC mentor, and I'm just thinking about when I deal with the form. So they only have the in-person session at Mississauga, right?
Yeah, well, that's something that we can also take offline, because there are means within London of sourcing support for
Exactly.
the teams
So
in this area.
if I think if we have several teams in London, if there will be separate sessions in person at London, that will be wonderful. Otherwise, I think if we travel to Mississauga to do this, I think that will be
that's a long way.
Yeah, that would be
I was already having that in mind for the teams in this area.
Okay, and also thinking about so I think also the parts, how it will be delivered. That I think if in person they can pick up. So that's also another question I want to ask. So if we cannot attend the in-person session, whether the parts can be delivered.
So last year, a good number of our parts for the Everybot build were purchased here in London. Some of them were purchased in Toronto. So we can keep in touch about that as well and see what's the best way to support the teams in this area.
Thank you very much.
So we move over a little back to, I would guess, St. Mary's, Ontario, unless Quentin is in Stratford at the moment.
Yes, I am actually in Stratford at the moment. So our team, kind of the challenges that we're looking at this year is well, we have a lot of ambitious ideas since we have a couple new people, a couple old people, and just like getting everyone together, we kind of want to, we feel like we are capable of designing our own robot, but some of our ideas we find out later on is just like a bit impractical or just will not like suit the, I guess, mission objective. So today we're hoping that the Everybot will kind of give us some more grounded ideas to base our own ideas off of, and just to customize it a little bit.
Excellent. So that sounds great. It's a good starting point because you can get an Everybot built and get yourself on the field, and then have every plan of modifying that Everybot throughout the season and building custom modules that could be added later. So those are some of the thoughts there. And I'm seeing here that Tony, welcome Tony, you're also a part of the same team, ACCN 7712. I wonder if you have any thoughts to add, given what Cheryl has already shared with us.
Yeah, I think the idea of co-build space is, first of all, co-building space is a good one. And it doesn't necessarily, the way we've done it doesn't necessarily have to be the whole season, like the push towards the end. I think one year we did with a team from Scarborough, Mary's team, and we had
6977 as well, Yusuf's old team.
So we had one weekend we all worked together, which meant, maybe one part is being cut for all three. You're looking at the winch. So there's enough people that everybody can help each other in terms of bodies, or in terms of, because Mary's team only had that one fellow, one young student, or two people. Meanwhile, we had 15, 20 people there. So a lot of our students were able to, with direction, jump on the other robot, right? So
Nice.
so that's helped. It's a push towards the end. I like the idea of people co-sourcing parts. The other thing too, and I think which we're gonna need, particularly for the electrical, is we don't have an experienced mentor for electrical. I'll be honest with that. I've taken the time the last couple of weeks and through YouTube and all that. I mean, my background, I work in technology, so I'm comfortable putting computers together and all that stuff. So I think I'm in a position to at least work with the students to do the basics, you know, identify the parts and lay out the board and start doing some basic wiring. But I'm going to use the term borrow a mentor. Like, okay, this is what we've done. So somebody come and look at the electrical board and, you know, make sure we don't have wires hanging out that can cause shorting, for example. And I can think of the wiring of the talons, which seems really complicated. They're all in serial. You have the yellow and green going out and then all coming out one end. That I think is challenging. You really need to know what you're doing. So I'm going to use the term borrow a mentor for a session for a specific need, if we can think about that. Because ours would be electrical, especially as we can probably do the basic board, but when it comes to things like the talons and the white ones, I can't remember what they're called.
The sparks.
The sparks, the stuff that's going to go to all the motors. Yeah. That's complicated, right? So stuff like that. It's just
a little extra session there.
To look at our board when it's done to say it's legal, right? You don't want to fail inspection at the whatever. So I'll use the term borrow a mentor for a session or two. It might even just be come to our build site and spend an hour there, right? Look at how
there may be a few ideas that come to mind here, as each team has its own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and situation. Yep. So we may have like a dynamic and iterative approach to best suit what the teams are doing. One thing I was going to suggest is to establish a sort of a pattern of meeting according to your needs and availability. But then another thing, just based on the discussion here, maybe some custom sessions. Like it might be possible for us to do an online session where we assemble a electrical system with one of the teams, film it, and then the other teams can be online and interacting as we do that. I know, for example, last year was the first year for the parallel units, and we did some remote online sessions involving the hardware. We got the Spark Maxes set up online, for example. And so that might be something that would be of benefit. We could plan a session at someone's build space, get the robot to a certain point, and then do the electrical, and then film that on an interactive Zoom call, and then let the teams be there participating.
I like that also too, because especially for people who are far away from Studica, or can get there, at least they still benefit from the session. I like that idea.
So we'll see.
And my suggestion for that would be like what I've picked up from Dr. YouTube on the electrical thing is, first thing you got to do is lay out your 5x6 whatever that's going to fit in the area where you're going to fit the board, and then like make it almost step by step. Then you cut out your little areas, and then you stick the components. Like that's the first thing, like step by step, and you're actually filming the board and not the people. So it becomes, I can rewind. Well, then this wire goes here and this wire goes here. Stripper, crimper, all that stuff, so that people can rewind. So, and that can be used not just once. Once you film it once,
evergreen resource, as they say.
Because wiring the roboreel is forever going to be the same. Wiring the Spark is forever going to be the same. Wiring the Talon is forever going to be the same, right? Wiring the little lights that shows your robot is on is forever going to be the same. So that will never change, right? The thing that changes now is the motors for whether you're going to have, that's the only thing that changes year to year. The other stuff, it's all generic. And to a
Really
certain extent,
stable.
even the where you have the Talon and the Sparks, I think in our last year's robot, which I have in my garage, when I looked at it today, I think I realized that the Sparks were for the movement back and forth, and the Talons were for the other stuff, like the climber and the picker.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that becomes standard. So Talons recommendation used for your wheels, and then for any other functionality, remember you create your Talons, and it depends on how many you need. If you've got 4 functions, 4 Talons, then so that is standard that everybody does every year.
So just a little comment about that. We may actually sort of extend that or refine that in that each motor controller could potentially control any of the illegal motors. The question is, which ones do you have? So you need to know how to set up the Sparks, as the Talons are a little more straightforward. Or in case of some of the Talons, you may have to know how to do the CAN bus, for example. But then I think the next level to that one is which motor should be used for which application. And there's a little bit more planning. If you're using a climber and it has to be a certain amount of time, then only certain motors are going to be suitable.
So the gear ratios and all that, that's the final calculation.
Exactly. So
10 by, I think I saw Grantley doing them 10 by something, and you have to multiply the two to get
we could definitely have a session where we go through the connection between the motor and the design of whatever active game element or active robot element is being achieved. So there's a little bit of physics and calculation.
For the electrical list here for the Everybot, why don't we do that? That's a special one. So
yeah, that would be great. So we could have a session about that.
The basic control system, how you all set it up and wire it. Then the second one is the more esoteric. We're all using Everybot. So for this particular function, this is the type of
they're going to provide that layout and so forth as they did last year. So
yes.
And again, the Everybot was wired pretty simply, but it was wired in series. So that's part of it, is that they're going to provide documentation, and they're going to try to provide even more documentation, more detailed documentation this year. So it should fit perfectly into what you're talking about, Tony.
Yeah,
but
documentation over time, because
I think people learn differently. I've become
they're providing videos. They've committed to providing videos. They're going to provide diagrams showing because part of the thing with the electrical board is it's got to fit within the size of the robot. And they've already said that their plan is to make a narrower robot so it can fit on the charge station at the end. So they'll need to provide that, and they did it last year. So that'll make it a little bit easier to, as you're saying, to lay out in the order that you need to have things, right? So that'll be important, I think.
Question, Paul. We spoke earlier about whether or not Onshape was going to be available. And will there be Onshape files, or are they all going to be SolidWorks files for the parts?
For which? Coming from the Everybot people?
Yes, yeah.
Last year, the CAD files were in an online repository, which was based on Onshape. I don't know if they were importable into Onshape, but they were definitely an Onshape-like interface. I don't know if you saw last year's files. We could take a look at them if you like.
Yeah, we did not, because we did not have a place to build, so we didn't build anything last year.
So I'll show you what the Everybot looked like last year, as I have it in I have links to the Everybot resources here. We'll just take a quick look at what to expect. So I'm just going to share my screen again and show this video again.
Please put it in the chat, please.
Yeah, we'll put that in the chat as well. So the reason I'm wearing a First Canada Live shirt first is this next First Canada Live, as the previous one this week, is also about the Everybot, and the global reveal of the Everybot will be this Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Twitch TV, First Canada.
Okay.
And we may at that time also get the specs on the chassis. If you look at the footage of the last call, which was posted in the chat, one of our engineers, Jenna, revealed several key details about the Everybot that are really great to note. First of all, they're a little bit ahead of schedule, no promises, but they're hoping to get it done much more early this year. There's a lot of restriction last year on everything. So they're ahead of schedule from what they expected. They are expecting more detailed documentation, as Paul suggested, and they're hoping to release the chassis dimensions early so that you can get started with your rectangle bot and then get ready to build things on top of it.
Okay.
So this Tuesday at 7.
Yeah, so that's this Tuesday at 7.
Are you going to put it in the chat?
Yeah, I'll put those in the chat as well. What I'm going to do is also link to our Everybot resources from last year. Here we go.
Sorry, William, can I ask a question? Clarification. So what do you mean by reveal on Tuesday? This is the only, I thought we only know at the end of the month or some.
Well, last year it was a little later. This year they're a little ahead of schedule. So they're hoping to reveal their Everybot design this Tuesday at 7 on First Canada Live. So last year they had this video, and I think it was towards the end of January, this Robonauts 118 Everybots 22 video. I'm not going to show it, it's just there. The bill of materials, it's America centric, so we may adopt that for Canada.
Oh, so you mean in terms of measurements, like inches and?
No.
Yes, you'll have to get your conversion mind together, as they do tend to do things in feet and inches. Luckily here in Canada, we can adapt.
Yes.
They have the CAD, and here's the CAD file. You can download the files, and perhaps that can be shared, but I believe you can just click on here, if I'm correct, and explore the 3D viewer of this Everybot. Oh, load in 3D viewer, here we go. And from here, I can just use my computer mouse without installing any additional software to explore a whole tree-like hierarchy of the whole Everybot. You can see I can hide and show different elements. There's the rectangle bot, and then there's one module that was loaded on, and so on and so on. And you can get right down into each module using the tree. It just has substructures all the way through, so you can get right down to each individual nut and bolt to be able to see how it all fits together.
This will be available Tuesday, hopefully.
Yeah, well, here's what happened last year. So if you see these links one by one, as the team got them done, the links went live. So if I go to the 2023 resources now, you'll see that the links are not yet live, but it says coming soon. But there is a Discord chat, and maybe I'll put the Discord in our chat here. So here's the link to the Discord, and I'll also link to our Everybot resources for 2023 and 2022. Here's the 2023, and here's the 2022. And then also twitch.tv/First Canada.
So part of what happened at the end of last year is that teams and organizations like First Canada provided some feedback to them. So there were over 200 teams that did an Everybot last year worldwide. And one piece of feedback that I provided is I said, what would really help us is as soon as you've made that decision on your chassis size, let us know, because then teams that have decided this is what they're going to do can cut the chassis, put all the gearboxes in, put the wheels on, get it all set, even start making bumpers because they've got the size. And if they do the electronics at the same time, they can start driving it around. So, which we couldn't do. So what they did last year was, for the most part, they released as much as they could all at once. And it would be beneficial if people are going to go to Studica or some other meeting place to work on it if they already have a chassis that's put together. There's
Yeah.
no point in going with nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
And
so
Paul, that's a great idea, because in the software world where I work, it's called agile, right? You do
yeah,
little
yeah,
pieces at a
exactly.
time. Do little pieces at a time.
Yeah.
Tony, my little post-it notes right here for my agile methodology.
Nice.
So yeah, one piece at a time. So we can,
Yeah.
as a team, we are doing one component at a time every week or something. Before you know it, we're all done.
Yeah, and they have talked that they're going to try to make it more modular, so it's potentially easier to do what you've suggested and what Ram has suggested in terms of the way that you put it together.
Yeah, actually last year it did not work if you did not build all the modules, or at least it did not work as expected. And so they've made it a little more flexible this year, according to the discussion we had on Tuesday. So welcome also to Peter. Glad that Peter is joining us here from Team 7509. And well, what our discussion seems to have yielded is a few suggestions for how we might best support the Everybot teams in Ontario. One thing I might put in the chat right now is some just suggested times for meetings that I would be available for a Zoom call. And meanwhile, I would just get some of your feedback for suggested times that are optimal for you. And we might aim for maybe once a week to have a call like this, but I'll be on call, and so will Paul and other members of the community to assist in the interim times, as there's a short turnaround from now till March 3rd. So I'm going to put some suggested times here. Tuesday.
William, if I could interrupt while you're typing that out, the comment that Peter has put in there is extremely important. Not that Wednesdays are the best for him, but the comment before that.
Yes, the field elements.
So without testing, it was a very difficult season for Everybot robots last year, because we couldn't test. We couldn't build any of those things. Teams couldn't go to practice fields, nothing like that. That is of extreme importance, especially if you're possibly going to modify something. So without testing on actual game elements or game elements that you build, you're not going to know if it can go up the ramp to the charge station. You're not going to know if there's something that's going to get in the way of it putting on a cube on the second level or a cone on the second level. So that's extremely important. And that's one of the reasons why one of the things that has to be discussed eventually is where would there be practice fields or partial practice fields so people can test and then work on the robot. It's of crucial importance, I think.
Good question.
Great. So I've just put a few times in there, mindful that Tuesday at 7 is First Canada Live. It may not be practical every week. It's going to be every second week. And so that would be 7
Why
o'clock.
don't we slot ourselves in between them?
Yeah, so we could have the in-between times. I was doing that with the mentor sessions in the fall. I just tried 2 random times and the times I'm available. Anyway, those are times that we could use. If you give me feedback, then I'll choose that for the next time and we'll go from there. And meanwhile, it is a good idea to see if you can start building field elements, and stay tuned for the release of the dimension of the chassis, because once that's done, you can get going on your rectangle bot, as I call it, which is just the chassis with nothing else on it, anticipating the release eventually of the rest of the materials and build instructions. So that's good. Thank you, Ram, for the feedback. I see Peter prefers Wednesdays.
I'm wondering whether they will have a chassis that's full all around, or will have a gap at the front. Be interesting to see.
Yeah.
For the interface.
They tend to want to keep things as simple as they can.
So it's probably going to be a rectangle. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, because the other one can be. We did that one year and it was interesting.
And Peter here has suggested from his online contact that narrower chassis, a 25-inch chassis width is suggested. I suppose that will get more robots more reliably on the scale. See how that works out.
And I think the perimeter is 140, I think.
Yeah, so you have to keep
120, I think it is, isn't it?
120 inches, right?
Yeah.
We have 25, 25, you're left with 70,
Yeah.
the maximum of 35 on the other side.
So you could do
Well-
4 times 30, but 30 is a little bit big, I guess.
What I'm saying,
3
yeah.
robots with 30, 30, 30, 30 will not fit on that.
I'm saying that not
Charge
the width, but the length.
Yeah. The
Well,
length,
there's a maximum length, right?
yeah. And there's a good point from Peter. We also have the bumpers.
Oh, yes.
So
yeah.
it's going to
Yes.
be cozy on the switch, or calling it the switch, it's the charge station.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm very glad that everyone has joined us this evening. Quentin sent his regrets. He's already off. And there are several more teams that were not able to make it this evening. We'll try to send this recording to them and try to gather around as Team Ontario, supporting everyone to do some amazing things, starting with the Everybot, and who knows where we'll end up. So we had some very good performances by the end of the year by Everybots in Ontario, especially in the off season. By the time of the off season, they're doing amazing things. So given the last year's short season, the Everybot really did perform well once everyone got going. So, oh yes, and including Peter's team, that's right. So he built the Everybot sort of alongside everyone last year, and they had their competition at Stemley and did very well. So. Well, I think we will conclude our proceedings for this evening, and please feel most welcome to reach out by email, by phone, or however, with specific concerns, requests, and whatever it takes to give every support we can to the teams here in Ontario. And,
Yeah, and also too, I just really like the idea, because if you're limited or probably restrained from getting to Studica, having well-placed cameras and well-placed instructions.
yeah, we did attempt to do that last year and we kind of abandoned it. Maybe we can practice again this year. It's a little tough to do. What happens, you start to get the sense that what you're recording is largely empty space as you're, oh, we have to go to the back and get this. Oh, someone just brought lunch. Oh, so it becomes a little bit difficult. But maybe Paul and I, and with the help of some others, can find a suitable solution for that. And if not, we can do some shorter sessions that would address specific concerns based on the
For the time.
So yeah, definitely trying to film the whole weekend is quite something.
I missed the beginning of the call. So the whole idea of being a Studica, is it to observe a robot being built and or to bring yours and keep building there?
At Studica?
Yeah.
Our original concept would be to build an Everybot together,
okay,
with representative mentors and or students from each team. That's the original concept, but based on the feedback here and maybe consultation with First Canada staff, we'll optimize that and do the very best we can.
No,
So
I suggested you'd have to come with a partial drivetrain.
I would really think that's a big thing, because last year we started with a partial drivetrain and we managed in our 2 days together to build one of the 2 major modules, which was the climbing tower.
Peter, your suggestion about picking up UPS?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because getting anything from across the border, even one year I had bumper numbers and I had to pay customs on that. A little sleeve.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not just the customs
No.
fees. I don't mind paying the tax, but when they ship by FedEx, in particular, FedEx is accustomed to dumping an extra $80 or so worth of brokerage charges on the bill.
Wow.
What I've tried to do where possible, and I've been successful with some robotic suppliers, is have them send it by U.S. Postal Service. Okay, then it shows up at your local postal station. They charge $5 as a collection fee, and then they collect the GST and pass it on.
Nice.
So that's one alternative. But a lot of these guys, they say, no, we always use FedEx, or we always use whatever.
Whatever service there.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get all the parts through Andy Mark, so we don't have to resort to the US.
So we'll have to
Well-
see if there is a way to legally and affordably get things across the border.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and I think that, if we were to pool our resources a little bit, then there might be a way for us to do that.
To share the shipping cost. Maybe there's a set shipping cost up to a certain
Yeah,
weight.
and even with first choice, I'm surprised that there isn't an option for us to do that. I mean, if we were to have first choice round 1 and round 2, have all that stuff shipped in one bundle instead of in 2, and that
Yes,
right away cuts your shipping costs in half.
that's big.
So,
We brought up that topic and spoke at length about it in our community conference in June. So it's definitely on the radar for first in the headquarters. And all of the international countries represented said the same thing about shipping as
Yeah.
the biggest challenges. So
Yeah, but even with FedEx, I had another shipment sent up from FedEx from Automation Direct. It came by FedEx. Everything was prepaid. It just showed up at the door.
nice.
So if the shipper handles the shipping of it properly, all in kind of thing, it's often peanuts at the front end rather than big bucket loads of dough at the receiver end. They might save a few pennies, but we pay through the nose at this end. It makes it generally unaffordable. Regrettably, Rev Robotics has a location in Canada. Studica is kind of a proxy for Endymark. Vex Robotics has a Canadian supplier. Automation Direct has a Canadian contact, and Automation Direct does a really good job of dealing with shipping. So their stuff shows up at the door. No extra charges at all. It's
Nice.
all upfront. In fact, my last shipment from Automation Direct was free shipping.
Wow.
So it makes you kind of wonder. FedEx is supposed to be, wasn't there a FedEx logo on the totes before? I mean, aren't they a service provider for First Robotics?
They may have been, or they may continue to be, but they also may have a niche support. For example, I remember there was a shipping of robots to competition for regional events. That was one thing that was happening. So yeah, sometimes these are very complex moving pieces in a complex system. So getting exactly what we need is a challenge.
Yeah, the other thing we might be able to do as a group is that if we want to do a shipment from the States from a particular supplier, is you might be able to pool the orders, have them all shipped as one order with one brokerage charge, and then split 5 ways if it's for 5 different teams.
Yeah, that might be very helpful. So we can see if we can get teams cooperating that way.
Is the brokerage fee tied to the cost of the purchase or just a standard?
Well, the brokerage fee is an amount of money that they line their pockets with. It's
Yeah.
70, 80 bucks. Goes straight to the brokerage, the shipper for essentially filling in a standard form. It takes them seconds to do.
No, the question was, if they charge based on the cost of the shipment?
No,
Is that-
no. I mean, what the variable part of the cost is the HST that they collect on behalf of the government.
Yeah,
The
And I
fee
think
to
that
collect
they're-
$10 worth of HST is 60, 70, 80 bucks.
yeah,
So, when you order $30 worth of stuff and you wind up having to pay $140 for it,
yes.
that's nuts.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, 6:50.
So thank you very much again.
Mm.
And we will be in touch for sure. Please feel free to reach out, and we will announce the next series of calls based on our analysis of the chat and our discussion this evening. And we look forward to working with you in the Everybot program.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Jeff,
Thank you.
Tony,
Thank
Ram,
you.
and Peter, and Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mm.